Are you trying to dominate your fantasy football league? Do you want so many championship rings it's impossible to sign autographs? Well, crack open a beer, pour yourself a glass of bourbon, and settle in, because you've come to the right place. Welcome to Hammercast.
Welcome to the Double D's podcast, which is part of the Hammercast network. I am your host, Kevin Coleman. On this episode of the podcast, we have special guest, Fantasy Dukes, who quite frankly, he does it all. He's an analyst for the Undroppables, runs his own website, thefantasydukes.com, and I personally know this because he helped develop some designs for me. He's one of the best designers that I know. So if you need a design, if you're out there on social media, he's the guy to go to. He's a man of many talents. He's the guy here. So I'm happy to have him on. You know, I appreciate you coming on. Why don't you tell our listeners, you know, where they can find you and some of the work that you've been doing recently?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you, Kevin. That's a huge compliment to say I'm one of the best out there. There are tons of great designers in the space, by the way. But, so I guess a little about me. I joined this Twitter sphere we're all in about a year and a half ago, I think, with my account. And I just kind of dove in, set up a site, did my own analytics, wrote some articles, realized it's all too much. One person's not supposed to do everything.
Yeah.
So now I'm just Chalk called me after a little while, and I joined the Undroppables. So that's mostly what I'm working on now. Great projects going on over there, theundroppables.com. Follow the YouTube page, and going to be awesome draft stuff. Look out for what we're doing around the draft. I think we've mentioned that we're doing a live stream for the draft too.
Yeah, see, I'll be tuning into that one. I love, if you haven't checked Undroppables out, you do it. They just good knowledge, good guys, and they're very blunt. I love that. Like, those are my type of guy. I like people that just kind of tell you how it is, and good content always. There's always good stuff, unless our guy Sabermedics is erasing his threads on accident. So besides that, that happens. So while we have the Dukes on today and tonight to talk about his Indianapolis Colts, and we're going to be looking at their dynasty outlook. They probably feel pretty good with that guy running the ball for him back there. But we're going to go over just kind of what he feels, how the season went, kind of how their off season's going so far, free agency, and kind of some outlooks. We're going to go over buys and sells in a little while and going from there. But first, before we do anything, I just want to know your opinion on the season as a whole. Last year they went 11-5. They actually probably should have beat the Bills in the playoffs. They lost by 3. Had they had a quarterback that had any type of arm that could throw more than 15 yards, they might have beaten the Bills. So overall, what is your opinion on the season last year?
Man, so first of all, thank you for letting the Colts be the entire topic of the show. I can just talk about the Colts, man. I'm so excited for this reason. And because I get to talk to you. You're a great dude. Everybody knows that. You're reputable with how nice you are, Kevin. Mm-hmm. But, okay, we should have won the game because we were there were some calls both ways, first of all, before we talk about that fumble at the end. I know it was a fumble. Yeah. But there was also an earlier call in the game that really hurt us. We were 2 of 5 in the red zone. Reich was very aggressive in that game on 4th downs, and that's something that he's been getting knocked for. I can talk more about Reich's play calling later.
We will. We'll get there.
Yeah. And so this was a game where I think this staff just saw Josh Allen making so many plays with his legs. And that was the issue with Rivers was just, look, he's still a great decision maker. People call him the noodle arm, whatever. He was getting it done. I like Rivers as a player a lot. But the thing about that game was just that made all the difference. It was who could run the ball, make plays when it mattered, and that was Josh Allen. He looked like a stud in that game. That was really impressive, and I really got on board with Josh Allen after that game too.
Yeah, no, he played great. I think you guys were close. You came a little. I thought maybe at the end of that first half, the play calling was a little suspect. I remember that game watching it. I thought you had it in that third quarter, and then it just kind of slipped away. Now, you kind of mentioned it already, so we might as well talk about it. What was your opinion of the Phillip Rivers experiment last year? Phillip, he had 4,000 yards passing last year. I think those numbers can be a little inflated, though. He had 24 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Overall, how did you feel like that year went with him? And were you happy with them getting him?
Yeah, so last year, my first thought was I never used to like Rivers just because when we played him, I thought he was just whiny. But I've come to realize he's just so competitive. He can't let things go. And I respect that in somebody. He's one of those guys, if he's playing for you, you like him. If he's playing against you, you don't. Sometimes when he's playing for you, though, you're just like, okay, I'm kind of glad this experiment is over. We're on to a new experiment. Yeah, I want to talk about that. But, yeah, I mean – I like what we've done at quarterback. We haven't been in a great position to move up in the draft and get a guy, and I know that they have mentioned that they might do that this year. They were thinking about it. And, look, I want the Colts to try to win now. We've got the defense. We've got the offensive line. It's all there. So it made a lot of sense for them last year to try the Rivers experiment. I mean, there were not as many options as there were this offseason.
No, yeah. I mean, who are you really going to get last year? I know some people had talked about maybe Fitzmagic coming there. I thought that would have been good.
Yeah, I was on board with that this year too, but I do like how everything worked out. I mean,
yeah. No, we'll get into Carson. I like that. No, the thing with Phillip, whenever I watch it, I feel like I've had Phillip Rivers on a fantasy team of mine for like 12 years because I always draft him in redraft, like in the 10th round, because no one ever drafted him, and then he always would help me win championships just because he's a great actual fantasy quarterback. He puts up a lot of points, especially because he always played with terrible defenses. I just felt like his arm towards the end, it just got worse. And then I think part of that's on Frank Reich, right? His play calling. I thought they should have relied more on Taylor last year. I thought they should have pounded the ball more. We saw it on Twitter. We saw it all these places. So when you're looking at Frank Reich, there's even a forum, guys. I don't know if you know what For the Shoe is, but as I was doing research for this, there's a forum that just is a whole topic is Frank Reich sucks at calling plays. And there's over 1,000 comments on this one topic about Frank Reich. What do you think of him? Like, what is your play calling? What is your overall opinion of him? Because I think he's a good coach, but just not a very good play caller.
I was not aware of the forum. How many such forums are there? I'm not really a forum guy.
Oh, there's a lot of forums about Frank Reich. There is a lot of posts on him about his play calling.
Okay, so I mean, I do follow a lot of Colts forums. I know it is brought up a lot there, so I totally understand it. My mentality on it is he has definitely been aggressive. Maybe when he's doesn't need to be. Mm-hmm. Dave, don't even say JT because we're going to go off on a whole tangent. Okay, I shouldn't address. Okay. But, yeah, so one thing I like about Reich is he acknowledges, and he does acknowledge his mistakes.
Yeah.
He's got a do-your-job mentality for his players, and he's got the same mentality for himself, and accountability is everything with him. He gave reasons for why he's aggressive on fourth down. He gave reasons for why he was running it so much in second and long situations because a lot of times those were not successful. And like you said, why not let Rivers sling it around a little more? And it was coming down to unpredictability. And so there is an actual, I can't think of his name right now, but there's actually a coach on the staff whose sole job it is basically just to make sure that the probability is not becoming too much of a problem. And Reich stresses unpredictability and he stresses accountability. So I like that, but when it comes down to X's and O's, I think that he has to realize maybe there is something there that's not working. But we'll get into it more later when we talk about Wentz. I have different expectations for how he's going to call plays in the future. We'll just say that is probably his weak point right now as a coach. I like him a lot as a coach, actually. But that can definitely improve. I will give him credit, he did start to adapt more to JT's running style. He started to get him in under center formations more, let him do what he does well, let the zone blocking set up. Earlier in the year, just a lot of stuff out of the shotgun. I mean, and some of that too, Taylor just has to get used to. Wisconsin is not a team that does that really at all. I mean, maybe more now, I'm not sure. When I watched them, they never did.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you're right. I think you're talking about Tyler Boyles. Is that who you're talking about? I think because he's a young coach, he does all the analytics stuff for the Colts.
Yeah, I mean, that might be the name. There's a few guys that have very specialized rules like that. I mean, but
yeah, no, I get what you're saying, but damn it, Dukes, why did they bring Jacoby Brissett in and a Wildcat offense at the 1 yard line when you have Jonathan Taylor? Do you understand that? Because I don't understand that. I don't get it.
That is a great example of something that I can't explain. So, yeah, I mean, definitely room for improvement, 100%.
Yeah.
I'll defend my guy, but I'm also going to speak the truth and acknowledge the truth. The play calling, we'll talk more about why I think it'll get better, though.
Yeah, I think he does. I think he has. Like you said, to his credit, he has said, hey, I need to be better, right? Some coaches just – like John Gruden, he ain't never saying that crap. He's just going to dig his head in the sand and say, I'm going to give Devontae Booker the ball as many times as I can. Don't worry about Jacobs. And it's like, dude, what are you doing there? I do think Reich has shown that he has that ability, and I think he has a good staff around him. And I think I know where you're going later, and it's important for wins. I think it's going to be important for that development. How does that work, and what does that look like? Now, as far as I think that you guys have one of the best GMs in football, Chris Ballard. He's done an amazing job. Who was your last GM? He was so bad I forgot his name.
Yeah, Ryan Grigson. I'll tell you, he made two great picks, Andrew Luck and T.Y. Hilton, and everything else he did was the last thing I would do.
He was Trent Richardson, right? He got a Trent Richardson as like
Well, so Trent Richardson went for a first-round pick, but at that time, I mean, he looked like a stud.
Yeah.
Grigson had time to see this guy play in the NFL, and he still traded our first for him, which ended up being third, maybe, overall. It was a high pick for sure.
I mean, after Grigson, I would honestly say that Andrew Luck retired because of Grigson. That's what he did to him was the reason why you guys don't have Andrew Luck anymore on that roster.
Right, and as much as that hurts, it's also like the core of our team now. It's what Ballard – is like the anti-Grigson. He came in and immediately undid all the wrongs, but then you're left with, of course, Andrew Luck mulling over whether or not he wants to keep doing this. And then he had, he was banged up with something, and he told himself he's not going to go through the process anymore, and I respect it. So that's not what I came here to talk about.
All right, so let's talk about. I don't want to get you depressed, dudes. All right, let's go to Ballard. According to PFR, Pro Football Reference, they actually have a draft capital calculator, and what that does, it measures draft success for GM. This is actually a pretty cool tool. Nice. Ballard actually is the fifth best, according to that. His GM rating is the fifth best in pro football the last 3 years. So he has done a great job. I thought he did a great job with Quentin Nelson, building the line. I think he's going to have to reshape that line a little bit. What are your overall just opinions of him? I think he's done a pretty good job. I think the quarterback position is something he couldn't. Hey, Andrew Luck retired. That's not his fault that he came into that situation. I think if Andrew Luck was there, this is a Super Bowl team. Yeah. So he did a great job. I don't think you can pin that on him, and it's hard to get a quarterback in the league. But overall, what do you feel about him?
So I think that you said it is fifth, how they rated him. I don't know how they factor in things like guys that just love football, hard workers, high character individuals that are fits. They're familiar with people on the staff a lot of times. I would put those characteristics really high on my own list. So that's probably why I love him. So I tell people all the time that I just love that guy. I love that guy. I love that guy.
He changed the culture, right? Like he changed everything about that.
Yeah, he does. He's also he's so open and honest the way he speaks, and he also, one thing I love about him is the way he talks about trust. And again, Reich and him are just so like-minded in that it's all about accountability. Is if everybody's doing their job and trusting each other, that's how you get it done. And that's 100% the word is culture. That's awesome. I love that.
And you need a guy like that because I don't think this is a shock to you, but Jim Irsay is a little crazy. Like he's got
not a shock at all. I've seen clips, news, all of it. But one thing I like about him, he does a lot of giveaways. He's a fun character that has gone over the top at times. Yeah.
He wants to win, right? Like I just love
he's a winner, yeah.
I love the Pat McAfee show, so I always listen to his stories about him, how like Jim Irsay helicoptered them into a concert and then helicoptered them out because he didn't want to wait in traffic. It just like you have to have a guy like Ballard to basically tell Irsay, hey, this is me. Because Ballard, Irsay wants to go in there just draft whoever the hell he wants. It's like my Cowboys. We always get Jerry Jones picking out who he thinks is the GM. And I think that's our biggest downfall is we don't have a guy like Ballard who can say, hey, shut up. You have fun. You do all these giveaways. You do that stuff. Let me create a culture and a team for you.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with everything you said there. And I will add this about Ballard is if you looked at that tool and you sorted it by linebacker, just look at who he's hit on. And he's not taking a first-round linebacker. He's got Leonard, Okereke, and Walker. And Walker just signed for a lot somewhere else, and he was playing behind Okereke even. So, we're drafting that position extremely well.
I think you're hitting on your positions. You just have needed a franchise quarterback. So hopefully we have that guy. Now, going into the draft, and this is a good segue here. So we're going to talk about draft needs, and we're going to have Dukes be kind of a GM right now. We're talking about kind of the biggest needs. As far as their needs goes, so they have the 21st pick. They have 6 picks overall. They don't have a third because they traded out in the wind steal. Cornerback, defensive lineman, probably a 3 technique is where they're going to be looking. Offensive lineman definitely is going to be addressed in this draft. Edge rusher and then a wide receiver maybe. We could talk about that now as well because, T.Y. Hilton came back and they have some different groups there. So I don't know if necessarily a wide receiver is as big as a need as prior to that signing. What do you think they go with that 21st pick? Overall, where do you have that? And I'm going to give you some guys too that I like. I want you to tell me what you think.
Okay. So the players themselves, I'm not going to call myself an expert. There are some guys I'm familiar with, though, and some guys I like, but I'll do my best in that department. I do know what the Colts need. I love playing GM in this regard. So we actually have some decent depth along the defensive line that I like. Some guys on edge that I think are more rotational players. I would call edge our second biggest need with tackle being number 1. In one position I would throw in that is not listed there is tight end.
Yeah.
We could definitely use a guy that's multidimensional. I like that our offense really utilizes tight ends to block, and then obviously you got to have those guys making plays too in the modern NFL.
I never really thought about that because they have so many of the same damn tight ends on that team. Like Jack Doyle, Molly Kai, they're all kind of the same mindset. They could go tight end in the draft. I didn't even, maybe with that 4th round pick, if Hunter Long is sitting there still, which I don't know, that might be, Noah Gray from Duke. Maybe one of these guys that I like that are later around. That actually, look at you, Dukes. You say you're not a GM, but I think that works.
Yeah, I think 6 picks. That could be. I don't know what you had listed there. Did you have 6?
Yeah, we have 6 picks. So you guys have 6 picks.
So you got 5 positions. So there's your 6th position there.
Yeah, no, I think it could be. I think you could fill that need. I think lineman for sure. So when we're looking at this, Alex Leatherwood, an offensive tackle from Alabama. I've seen Liam Eichenberg from Notre Dame.
I like him, yeah.
They're big. They're nasty. They can play, and they're going to be there. So those are 2 guys I think in that first round are definitely there. I know Gregory Rousseau. He had a great pro day today from Miami. I think that could be your edge rusher coming off. Even Ben Cleveland from Georgia, offensive guard. I could realistically see you guys going line the first 2 picks that you have just to kind of shore up that line because I know Ballard, and I kind of know where he's at in all those different groups. Do you think they address the wide receiver position at all?
Yeah, so first I agree about line. I think we're very top heavy there, but people don't realize our depth is kind of lacking. We did sign a guy today from Miami, a swing tackle. He's not going to start.
Yeah.
But wide receiver, I definitely think we need depth there. Look at the injury history. Hilton, Campbell, you can't rely on those guys. And then if it's just Pittman out there, not a lot of reps yet. I like him a lot, though. I like Campbell if he can be healthy. I think if everybody's healthy on the field, what we currently have, we're in a good spot. I should also mention, oh, man, please help me, Pascal.
Yeah.
Pascal is a really good run blocker. He's a guy that they re-signed for special teams reasons, too. He's just a good all-around player. They like guys like that, so – you could definitely use another type of player that I think kind of fits that type of mold. Get another guy that's kind of a do-it-all, maybe even can return the ball.
I think there's one kid I really like, and I don't know how he would fit in your offense. I think he would be an okay fit, and that's my guy Nico Collins from Michigan, 6'4", 215. He's very underrated because he played at my damn school, Michigan, who is terrible. You cannot judge skilled players from Michigan just because our offense has been so bad. I actually kind of like Nico. I think he's going to be a late round pick, so I think you could get him a little later. I think he has the size. He's a big-bodied receiver. I think he could fit with Pittman in that group, especially with Campbell and Hilton being in the slot, maybe moving Hilton around a little bit. I like Nico. What do you think of Nico?
I like that, and I'm more familiar with the Big Ten guys, and I do know the offensive players better, fantasy-relevant players better, just because, you got to be up on all that. But, Nico is a big body. I like that because Pittman's the biggest body in that wide receiver core, and he's not necessarily a real big guy. So, red zone type of real box you out type of guy, I like that. I think that's a good call for sure.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time you had a big-bodied receiver at the red zone. I always felt like, you had Harrison, you have all these guys that they were good, but we didn't have that guy that could – you usually had your tight ends that did all that.
Yeah, another Grigson move, we brought in the aging Andre Johnson. That might be the last
I forgot about that.
big body we've really had, actually. I'm trying to think, and it's tough to really come up with anybody.
It's hard. It's one of those things you're trying to think about. But I to be honest, when I'm looking at what you guys have had, even, when you're looking through your history at wide receiver, you never really had that guy. I mean, the offense dictated that. I think Pittman's close, but like you said, Pittman's a weird big. He's not a big-bodied receiver. He's a big receiver. There's kind of a difference.
Yeah, he's really smooth, and he's faster than you would think. He's like I don't know his exact size, like 6'1", 208. I really like those guys. That's a number one type of body, right?
Yeah.
But then there's the specialists, like the 6'3" and a half up that can box you out, 220 type of guy.
Yeah.
So Collins, I know, is maybe even bigger than that. He's a really sizable dude.
He'll be about 220, I think. He comes in there now. So, no, I agree. I think they're going to fill that need. I think that there's some DLs and, 3 technique guys in this draft. But I really feel like you said, I think that's going to go lineman, try to get an edge rusher and go in there. We're going to look at their outlook now. So we're going to start talking about quarterback, and this is where the fun part starts. So we're going to be looking at kind of what we think of as Carson Wentz. I'm going to go through some values, and we're going to be kind of going over what would we trade for him in Dynasty. The Eagles received a 2021 third and a conditional 2022 draft choice that could turn into a first, depending on some deals, kind of depending on if he starts, I think it's 70% or more, and if they make the playoffs. So 75%, I believe it is. So do you think that was a good trade? Do you believe that Carson Wentz coming there? Do you like what you guys gave up?
Yeah, so again, going back to my point I made earlier about I want this team to try to win now, is that's the way they structured that trade. It's all about this year, and that's what I really wanted to happen. Whatever they may happen, don't hedge all your bets in the draft and just give up everything. There are other ways you can find a guy, and this worked out absolutely perfect because, I don't know. You talked about the Pat McAfee show, so you probably saw Wentz on there. Mm-hmm. He just talked about, getting away from that hustle and bustle type of atmosphere. His wife is from Kentucky.
Yeah.
And, he fits the whole feel of the team. He's familiar, obviously, with Reich and a couple other coaches, I believe. So, I mean, what's not to like about it? Wentz is a former high overall pick. He's big. He's mobile. He's played really well before at an MVP level under this coach. So I don't see what's not to like. I mean, people are calling him a basket case and all this, but I think all that's really overblown. That's a lot of reasons I don't pay attention to a lot of the media stuff because, a lot of those people get paid to try to make it seem like more than it is. So I'm not worried about all that as much as I just trust that this is a decision. These guys know what they're doing.
Hey, put me in the corner of Carson because I still think he's a good quarterback. Like, I think people underestimated how bad the Eagles' dysfunction was. That team was bad. I mean, they didn't help him. They brought in Alshon Jeffrey, who couldn't stay healthy. They have Deshaun Jackson, who couldn't stay healthy. They brought in Rieger, who didn't stay healthy beginning of the year. And then everybody's like, oh, Travis Fulgham, look at this guy. No, stop it. I'm done with this crap, okay? Like, that is not – and then Ertz was hurt. And so, really, when you're looking at it, he had a banged-up line, and then you're going to say he was the problem. I just don't – I mean, Hurts came in, and he looked okay, but that's because Hurts is a different type of quarterback than Wentz. Hurts could get around what they put around him because of his mobility and all that. Wentz isn't that guy. He's going to need some structure. And when you don't give him structure, so I think mentally Wentz was done, and I think it was good for him to move on. He actually did go to a perfect situation, like you talked about. Reich and him, they have a very good relationship. They have developed there. So I actually think that his value is a little too low right now. I think you could actually get him for example. So right now in a trade in Dynasty, so we're talking about Superflex. I'm interested to see what you think of this. So Carson Wentz went straight up for Tua. Who would you rather have in Dynasty? Who do you think you would rather have? It's close, surprisingly.
Yeah, so it would be easier for me, but I do still think Tua has a lot going for him. The Dolphins have all these picks. They're going to build something really nice around him. I do like Tua. He's younger.
Yeah.
But I could definitely see on the win now. I think Wentz is definitely better in the short term. So you could convince me either way, really. In the short term, Wentz makes a lot of sense. If you just need a quarterback that you can really depend on in that super flex spot, you could convince me to make that trade.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And then also, and this is just to show you where his value is, and this just happened a week ago. Odell Beckham straight up for Carson Wentz in the Superflex league.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, I would take Carson's side in that. I mean, Odell, what's he really going to be, a wide receiver 3 maybe for the rest of his career? I don't know. He's obviously got a higher ceiling than that, but I would rather have the quarterback for sure. Because Wentz is at least, I would think, the rest of this contract, and I would think that he's probably going to get another one. Yeah,
so just put that in perspective. I'm okay with that. If I need a quarterback in the Superflex league, especially with the landscape what it's like, I'm okay giving it OBJ. I'm pretty done with the OBJ experience, especially after the whole shit talk and pooping. And I'm done. Carson Wentz, I'm done with OBJ. Like I have him on one of my teams. I cannot get rid of him. And so it's just kind of the point. So I'm good with Wentz, the Superflex. Hey, you know what? I'm going to take a shot at my quarterback. They're more valued there. Where is your line for draft picks? So are you comfortable giving up a first, and where would you give up that first in a Superflex league? Or are you still like, I'm not going to give up a first?
Yeah, so I would look at, this draft, there's certain players that you're just going to be in love with, like Pitts, or there's a couple running backs, probably Najee, Javonte. And if you would rather have one of those guys, I totally understand. But the rookie quarterbacks, there's really 5 that it's a risk-reward proposition, Yeah. I don't want to be that guy that says, "Oh, you gotta keep that 104 because you can get, maybe the BYU kid Zach Wilson's going to be there, or North Dakota State.
Trey Lance, my guy.
Lance. Right. Yeah. Hey, those are great players. Everybody says they're great players. Some team's going to take a shot on them, but who's got the better bet? A guy like Wentz that's in the situation he is, or wherever these guys end up, you don't even know right now. So it's a really tough call right now, but I would say he's probably worth that mid first.
Okay. Hey, that's fair. I mean, Superflex, everybody needs to understand it. The values are going to fluctuate. I do think in Superflex leagues right now, what you're going to see, I realistically think you're going to probably see all 5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round of Superflex. It'll be close, especially if Mac Jones goes to San Francisco.
Yeah, I think he's going to end up going higher than people think. It sounds like it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I could see some drafts that's just 1 through 5 quarterbacks if everybody needs them.
And that's where it gets kind of iffy. So then it's going to really put – I mean, that realistically, you could get Jamar Chase from the 106 to the 109. Somewhere in there who I have ranked really high. He's my number one in single quarterback leagues. I'm going to draft Jamar over those other guys. But that's because I'm a wide receiver snob and I hate running backs. But that's kind of where he's at. So when realistically in a Superflex league, you're like, hey, I would probably be comfortable around like 111, 112, like the end of the first if I needed a quarterback. Just because I'd wait until the draft happens just to see how the draft unfolded. But I understand what you're saying. One of these guys, just like, David talked about too, they're not going to all hit. It's the probability of everybody hitting is very low. So I respect that. What do you think Jacob Eason has a role at all? Or are you on the Eason train? There's some weirdos out there that love Jacob Eason. I don't know where you're at with him.
No, I'm not on the Eason train. I think whatever positive you've heard talk about him, it's probably coach speak. I think they're just bringing him along as normal. They know who he is, and he'll get a shot maybe someday as a backup, but I don't ever see him as a starting quarterback. But I'll go back and I'll say, I really agree with your last point. I mean, the quarterbacks are going to push everybody down. So everybody's got a guy. I've got a couple guys. So definitely wait till the draft. Don't go firing off all your rookie picks right now.
Yeah, don't be selling it right now. We know that. I think Dino Game Theory talks about it all the time, when to draft and when to trade. Now, anything else on Wentz? What is your expectations overall for him next year?
Yeah, so I think in the short term, really high. I think he's going to be probably QB1, could be a high-end QB1. I mean, nice. I think, look, I'm a Colts fan, but there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic here. I mean, the situation, it's like he talks about, I recommend everybody after this, if you haven't listened to the Pat McAfee, Carson Wentz, listen to it. He just sounds so happy. Yeah. And he sounds like a guy that realizes he's in the perfect spot, and he's going to be a really good value this year for sure. Yeah, no, hey, you know what? We have our guys, all right, and let us just live, okay? That's kind of how that works, especially with Carson. We're gonna go to running backs now, and we're gonna talk about I'm assuming you got your big Jonathan Taylor guy. That's why I made the graphic for you with Jonathan Taylor on there. I want to know first is how high are you drafting him? Like, I've seen him in Dynasty go as running back 1, so he went ahead of CMC and these other guys. Are you comfortable with that? Yeah, I have a top tier. It's CMC, JT, Saquon. So any of those guys, if you take them first, I don't mind it. Saquon to me is 3 just because of the injury. Yeah, more recent, more serious injury. CMC was more just banged up the whole year, and they played it safe for them. They didn't have any reason not to. But JT to me is that guy. And it's not like I just switched my tune up on him. I've been saying he's got the prototypical, this is exactly what you want in a running back type of body, big size, speed combo. Look at the way he is reading defenses now and making cuts. Everything's there, and the question was in the passing game, and he's already proven that he can do that too. Fumbles, I think I saw him fumble 1 time. That was another question. I think the only reason he made it to the second round is just because the position's becoming devalued. But to me, he is that prototypical running back, and he's the youngest guy. So I think if you looked at what my rankings are, it might have CMC 1, but it's just go ahead and say JT 1. Why not?
Look at you, hot takes tonight. I like it. Carson Wentz for a first, JT number 1. See, this is why I get Colts fans on to talk about their team, so I can hear these takes. I mean, and realistically,
I'll be close enough.
Through all the shit that he dealt with last year, JT still finished running back 7.
Yeah, and I mean, look, Marlon Mack coming back. That's more like I think it was what, $2 million for a year. He's not going to be ready. This it's really going to be the JT Hines show. I think JT's carries are safe. You don't have to worry about that. He's going to become more efficient because he's just, again, one of those Chris Ballard guys. He's such a hard worker, so motivated. And shout out Rondale Moore. He's a Chris Ballard guy. If the Colts got Rondale Moore, I don't want them to take a wide receiver in the first round.
Yeah.
But he's such that type of guy. That's why I love him, not just because he's from Purdue, but I like the character. And that's why I fell in love with JT. So, yeah, all the way, number 1.
Hey, look at that. I like it. All right, so you're taking that. I think in redraft, he's my guy. So I think in redraft especially, I still lean CMC a little bit. But when we're talking about these guys, the running back value, they go off a cliff, man. Like, it just we could be talking about CMC next year as like, oh, do you really want to take him in a second? And it's just like, wait, what? What just happened here?
Yeah, totally possible, man. It happens all the time. Look at, Todd Gurley is such a sad story. And, I mean, I'm worried about guys like that. Yeah, like Kamara, Dalvin Cook in 2 years. What is it? Kamara less so, actually. He's kind of got a lasting value to him. That's just the way he plays, I think.
Yeah, I would be more – I actually included them both on a recent YouTube video I did for Dynasty Sales for running backs. But I said Kamara has a little bit more value because he's pretty good at he not getting hurt. He has his receiving, his PPR formats. And when you look at that, I honestly, realistically, you could be talking about Jonathan Taylor as being the number 1 guy for the next 3 years. I mean, even Barkley, remember the last 2 years ago, he was the guy. And now it's like, well, is he injured? Should we take him? Where is he going? As far as kind of value-wise for Taylor, you're going to have to pay up for Jonathan Taylor. Now, if you were smart and paid up when he was going through all his things. Now, I'm going to tell you a couple of trades that he went for when he was going through his downtrodden, and you're going to laugh.
Wow.
Jonathan Taylor for Robbie Anderson in a second. That happened, guys. That happened.
Can I tell you before you keep going?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was offering people my first, and then I would go on to my first and my second, and I wasn't getting any bites. I don't know what these leagues are.
Well, I mean, it's on DLF. Yeah, check it out. I mean, they go over these trades, and so these are all the My Fantasy leagues and the Scott Fish leagues that they do. So these are real trades. Jonathan Taylor for Will Fuller, straight up.
No,
straight up. Prior to the suspension, how do you feel about that guy? If you gave Jonathan Taylor for Will Fuller and then he gets suspended for PEDs, that you might quit. Like that.
I hope you like the Dolphins.
That's a trade you might just be like, I'm out. Like I don't think I could do this anymore. And a good one that I thought is actually fair. So this is a more recent one. Stephon Diggs, the 104 for Jonathan Taylor.
Okay, I wouldn't do it now, but that's at the time good value. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a little bit more just fair in terms of it. But what you're saying is true. I think he could be the running back 1 of this year. And if you bought him for cheaper during the middle of the year when everybody's saying to sell because you listen to idiots, that sucks. I mean, if you gave him up for Will Fuller, guys, that makes me sad for that guy. I want to buy him a beer. So if you're listening, send me a message and show me the receipts, and I will buy you a beer tonight because you deserve it.
Hey, man, people keep listening to you, listen to the Undroppables. I'm telling you, none of us went off of JT. We're not that foolish. We knew what we were dealing with. It's all patience, we have such small sample sizes. We play 16 games in 1 year, and guys after 2 of those games are already deciding the fate of these first-year players. It's remarkable how people think they can figure it out like that.
Yeah, no, you guys, hey, to the Undroppables credit, to all those guys over there, they kept saying, hey, keep buying. And then, you know what? They were right. And that's kind of how that works. I do like Nyheim Hines. I know you brought him up a little bit. Do you think he's still a flex option that you could start on in some leagues?
Yeah, 100%. So I think the offense is going to continue to be running back heavy.
Yeah.
Rivers is not the only quarterback that can throw to the running back. I hate to break it to everybody, but that seems to be the thing that people say is, oh, the targets are going to go down because Rivers loves throwing to the running back. No, he's just had a lot of running backs that are good at catching the ball, and Hines is one of the best in the league. And yeah, JT proved that he's up there too. So, but Hines is really special in that regard, in a way that JT is not. He is slippery and agile and a gymnast too. It's just he's really a different type of back, and he's coming to his own. His first couple of years, he had some kind of skittish moments, but now I would say he's like super comfortable out there, and he makes plays all the time. So absolutely, you can start him when you're in a pinch. You can put him as your RB2 if you're in a pinch.
Yeah. From us zero running back truthers like myself, I have a lot of Nyheim Hines. So just know I'm going to be doing that. And for perspective-wise, he finished as running back 16 last year in PPR formats. So him and Taylor, they have shown, hey, in PPR format.
Yeah.
I feel like they are as close to Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt as we think of, hey, that could be Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines, where they could have value on both of your rosters, right? And again, they're going to use them both.
So what I would say to that is probably like bringing back Mac. They are showing they do want to have.
That's fair.
Obviously, the guy that's going to come in. But you saw even when they were doing that with Wilkins and he was less effective, they really didn't use him a whole lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really more just Hines and JT. And I think, Reich, like we said, he knows when he's wrong. He's going to realize these two guys are who needs to be on the field. So definitely.
And I think Hines is a sneaky buy right now. He just got traded straight up from Mecole Hardman.
Yeah, 100%. All day. Yeah, so Mecole's – here's the thing about wide receivers. Even if you think a guy like that still has a lot of upside, what is it really? Like on that team, let's say he becomes the number 3 target. Well, depending on how you look at Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah.
So he's let's say he's the number 3 guy. The volume that Hill and Kelsey get, he's still going to be top end wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2. And that's like his ceiling, really.
Yeah.
So what are you, and running back is such a scarce position. That's all day.
Yeah.
You got to think about these things like this chip can't fit here. So you got to hang on to the chips that you can actually use because running back, you're going to have injuries. It's a position that most people don't have enough.
Yeah, no, you're correct. And a guy like Mecole Hardman, if you can get him for Nyheim Hines, I'm doing that right now. If you have Hardman on a roster, you might as well go try it, because if you can get that kind of value for someone like that, who I don't think Hardman holds any more value. It's a funny story, though, when we got time. I think like we talked about with rookies, I think the 3rd week of the season, I said, who would you rather have on your dynasty team, Justin Jefferson or Mecole Hardman? And 37% voted for Mecole Hardman.
That's there you go, Mecole. That's one of your best achievements, right?
So that is literally his best achievement, right there. Was that he almost got to 40% on a poll that I put out, but that just shows you dynasty mindset. People still play dynasty in redraft mode, so they think of it as redraft, and that's when you can balance, and that's how you win leagues. And I think people underestimate how dumb some people are and how they're overreactionary and they feel like, oh, I got to move. And sometimes the trade you don't make or the patience that you show will help your dynasty rosters. If we go to wide receiver now, like we kind of mentioned already, I think they need an upgrade. So we talked about Rondale Moore. You mentioned him. We're looking at I saw Bateman, but again, you're going to take I don't know if they want to use a first-round draft capital on a wide receiver when they have some lineman issues that they got to deal with. Yeah. What is your opinion of T.Y.? He's kind of I feel like I don't know where the Colts fans feel about Hilton. I think he was good, but he just can't stay healthy, right?
Yeah. So I've always been a big fan of T.Y. I agree. We should not I don't think we should use either of the first 2 picks on a wide receiver, but we should definitely address the position. T.Y. is not going to fill all the gaps there. And you look at our wide receiver roster without him, it's a lot of somethings, but not anything really solid.
Yeah.
So here's what I like about T.Y. and T.Y. with Wentz is going to be something that I'm looking forward to, because not only did they talk throughout this process with Hilton coming back, they're really excited to work with each other because, well, and one thing Dave just said is Andrew Luck was great with Ty, and that's because he was extending plays.
Yeah.
And I think that Wentz, obviously, that's the type of player he is. He's going to roll out, make things happen in the pocket, and T.Y. Hilton is magical when it comes to that, and he can still do that. He's not as quick in his routes anymore. He used to get open. He just was electric. He's lost some of that. But 100% after the play breaks down, he can still see where it's soft in the zone, and I think there's going to be a lot of first downs made like that.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. I mean, even T.Y., he did have some games this year, like you said, health considering, but in week 12, 13, 14, he averaged about 22 fantasy points per game. So he did show health, and I think I won a DFS because of him, so thank you, T.Y. But when you're looking at that health, kind of where he's at, I think they need to upgrade. Now, let's talk about my dude, Paris Campbell, because I still believe in Paris Campbell, and I don't know why. I can't get off this train. I actually got him for a 4th-round pick recently. I'm okay with that because you know what? I'm buying a little if I can get him for really cheap, because I think he is one of the best slot receivers that the Colts could have if he just, damn it, would stay healthy. What do you think of Paris? Because he had a first game this year. I was like, yes, and then he got hurt.
So, yeah, you're not going to like how I start this, because I can tell you're a Michigan guy, because Paris Campbell at Ohio State was so freaking good.
That's the problem, too.
Against Michigan a lot, too.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Oh, yeah, man, I know. I've seen a lot of Paris Campbell. He's just had the worst NFL luck, man.
Yeah.
And I hate it because he went to my team. I was like, nice. I love this guy. I've seen him play. He's got, just slot wide receiver written all over him. He's super fast. Again, once he's got the ball in his hands, he's a little bigger than you would think he is. He's really good at slipping tackles. I like him a lot. Stay on the field.
Yeah, I think I jinxed him because I wrote an article last year, Comeback Players of the Year, and he was on my Comeback Player of the Year. So I said, hey, here we go. His ADP last year.
Kevin.
I know. He was going as wide receiver 75, Dukes. That is just disrespectful. And I was like, no, this guy could put up wide receiver 3 numbers, and you go in there. Yeah. But if you look at what he's done, you're talking about his injuries. Before 2019, before camp, he had a hamstring injury. Then he fractured his hand. He had a sports hernia. Then last year, he had his knees, his injuries. I do think he's valued. I think he could. This is it for him, though. He's got to stay healthy and produce something. But if he gives you anything, if you can buy him for cheap, I think that's a valid, like, hey, you know what? If he can put up maybe mid-tier wide receiver 4, wide receiver 3, like lower tier, that's something. It's not going to win you leagues, but it's a good stopgap.
Yeah, 100%. Man, you're kind of calling me out because I feel like I'm not getting enough Paris Campbell right now. I've got him stashed on a couple teams, but I really haven't gone out and acquired him. But that's such a good call. I mean, the only reason I wouldn't be really is just the injuries, but I don't think it's a good idea to just fade players just because they've been hurt. Because, I mean, guys come out of those apparent just injury prone. I know that's not legal to say, but
you just got Adam just mad. Adam's ears just picked up a little bit.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I mean, you shouldn't predict injuries. Even I think for guys that have been injured a lot, obviously we're fading them way too much. So good call. Yeah,
I mean,
he on him more.
And he went up straight up for KJ Hamler recently. So last week, I'm okay with Campbell for KJ Hamler. I don't think Campbell's going to have more opportunity than KJ Hamler.
100%. Yeah. So Hamler as a player, I like him all right. I think Campbell's a better player and definitely more opportunity unless they do end up adding a guy early, but I don't think they will.
What about Michael Pittman? So he was injured too. This feels like a trend that we're talking about here with Colts receivers, but he was, he slow start. I know I've been seeing him everywhere as breakout candidate. Are you nervous at all about Michael Pittman, or do you think he can be that guy?
Yeah, I wouldn't really call him breakout candidate. I would just say I would expect a continuation of what we saw when he was healthy. I think he's already a good player. He could play. He showed that, and he had to carry the team sometimes. He was the number one out there.
Yeah.
So talk about Hilton and Campbell hopefully also being on the field, though. In those games, you can't expect him to get, 11 targets a game. I would expect probably for him to be, a low-end wide receiver 3 type for the year. But that's if everybody's healthy. He can definitely do a whole lot more than that. I mean, but he's got a solid floor. I just think that with as much as we run the ball, it's going to be hard to support that many pass catchers in the offense.
Yeah, he averaged 5 targets last year a game, so under just about 5, under a little bit under 5. I would imagine it's going to be around 7, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good number. I was thinking it's like 7, 8. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would imagine he's going to go up a little bit. You're going to get an uptick. So depending on where you draft him last year. Now he just literally yesterday got traded for Juju straight up. Who would you rather have, Michael Pittman or Juju?
Yeah, I think I'm still on Juju there. Just a much more volume-heavy offense, and Juju's still really young too. So
yeah. Juju gets hated. I don't know why Juju gets hated on. And the little definite value here is Michael Pittman for Myles Gaskin and Preston Williams. I would want Michael Pittman. I would be smashing Pittman in that deal.
Yeah. I think I keep hearing Dolphins are going to make a play for a more of a traditional 3-down type of running back. So
Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm there. Now, I know we talked about rookie wide receivers already, but just to have my guy here. We talked about Nico Collins. We talked about – I saw Dwayne Eskridge as well maybe later in the rounds. Dukes is worried about Rondale Moore. He's a Purdue guy, so I know he's going to be fighting for Rondale Moore as there. So those are some of the guys that were there. As far as tight end, though, I know Dukes brought up maybe draft a guy. If they don't, let's say they don't bring in – they probably will bring in a later tight end. Are you looking at maybe they bring in Ertz? Because I know we had that question earlier. Do you think that would be a good fit? Are you buying Doyle at all? Who are these guys? This is kind of a weird jumble of tight ends that are all the same.
Yeah, so I did say, tight end would be a need. I don't know if draft is the place. I like the tight ends that are going to go earlier, but again, I don't want them to use a pick for offense. I think definitely the lines are where we should be working right now. Get those future guys, but tight end Ertz. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, but I just wonder why they haven't done it yet. And I kind of think back to that whole idea of having these tight ends that are all-purpose.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know if Trey Burton's necessarily the best run blocker in the league. I think Ertz makes sense, but. And of course, Burton's still out there if you wanted to bring him back. So,
yeah. So Burton's still a free agent. I was big on Burton, and then he got hurt, and he couldn't stay healthy, and then he kind of had that same concept. I think Ertz feels like the most logical, right? Like I feel like Ertz is that guy where we're like, oh yeah, well he'll come in there. I think the health concerns are a little overblown on him. I think he can still be a tight end. It fall in that 12 to 18 range maybe. And then touchdown dependent, though. We talked about they need touchdowns. So, and they have that connection in the red zone. I actually think that could be where if Ertz was there, that could be a value for you in your rosters. And if you have Ertz, you wanted them to go to the Colts because then you can trade them and get that value back because you ain't getting nothing right now for Ertz. So there is kind of that. I think that's the one area it'll be interesting to see what they do as far as tight ends go. So, all right. Are there any other things about the depth chart we didn't cover that you wanted to kind of mention?
Did we? I mean, we could talk about. I don't know how much you get into IDP. I'm not really much of an IDP player, but so the secondary we're looking at, Blackman and Willis are solidified there. They're moving on from Hooker. The corners, we got Xavier Rhodes back. He's going to be really solid there. And then Kenny Moore is just my favorite little do-it-all player on this team.
Yeah.
My little brother met him. I'm really jealous.
Oh, man.
I guess he's like a super cool guy. So definitely love Kenny Moore. He's like the heart of the defense, man. And then, Darius Leonard is a big part of that too. I mean, the defense I'm really excited about, especially when you get some pass rush.
Yeah, I think you could have a top 5 defense next year. I don't play IDP because my wife would kill me, but those are all good calls out there. My IDP guys, I know we have IDP guys on. I give everybody that plays IDP credit. Do you play IDP?
I dabble. I have a couple that have like a few spots, but I just throw in linebackers. I know get a lot of tackles.
Look at you, yeah. I can't do it. I just can't. I tried it 1 year, and it wasn't bad, but I was just like, okay, it's like fantasy baseball to me. I just can't. Like, there's just too much. I respect it. I just can't do it.
If I branch outside of football, my mind just explodes. I can't.
Yeah.
I do everything I can just to keep up here.
All right, so what do you think next year? Super Bowl or bust, Dukes? Is that where you're at, Super Bowl?
Yeah, man, it would certainly be nice, but you look at the landscape of the AFC, you're talking about a team in the Chiefs that won a couple years ago. You got the Bills who just beat us. You got the Ravens who are going to be out for blood. I mean, I definitely think that right now the AFC looks like the tougher conference, but I mean, we'll see. Obviously, the Bucs had a hard road to get there and then smash the Chiefs. So anything could happen. But man, if we're not in the discussion at the end of the year, then I'm definitely disappointed. Yeah, come on, man. Let's at least go a little farther this time.
I think
that Super Bowl, yeah.
But I think realistically, I think the floor should be in the divisional round.
Yeah, I think the goal should be win the division because, you did Tennessee. No, we squeaked it out, right?
I believe. Let me look real quick. But yeah, I think that you did.
Have a better record than Tennessee. That's my goal. No, actually, I don't know. Tennessee might not even be as good. I think that if you look at the rosters right now, I think we're the best team in the division.
Tennessee won on a tiebreaker, so they won the division on a tiebreaker. But, yeah, Tennessee's going through a weird thing right now, too. They've lost some offensive players. Their defense looks a little older. I think you're definitely better than the Texans, Duke. That's definitely going to happen. The Jaguars, they'll be better, but let's be honest, they have the side. So I think you actually have a pretty easy – I don't want to say easy conference, but I realistically, you could win, 5, 6 – you should be able to win in that range for your division.
Yeah, not NFC East easy, but –
Hey. Easy on my NFC East there. Who is your – I always do this. I always try to mention it because I love the fact that we talk about like our favorite teams and our guys. There's tons of Colts players. They've had a really rich history. I know the easy chalk answer might be Peyton. You're around my age, so we definitely saw Peyton playing as we grew up. Who is your favorite Colt ever?
Love Peyton, love Reggie Wayne, love all the guys that you would think of. I played 2 positions. I'm going to have an honorable mention here.
Okay.
Jeff Saturday was that dude. I played center in high school. Jeff Saturday is such a great player, and he's also a great broadcaster. And then I'll give my favorite Colt ever is Dwight Freeney, man. That spin move. I played a little defensive end. I love that position. He was a underrated run defender and just one of the best sack artists there's ever been. How can you not love it?
Yeah, no, I hate that I like so many Colts players. I was going through there today. I was like, man, I remember watching these guys grow up because you guys were so good playing against the Patriots every year. And luckily you won that one Super Bowl. But I mean, guys like, I love that, Dave brought up Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison is that dude. I don't know if you know some stories about Marvin Harrison, but he's not as quiet and as nice as he seems.
He gets active.
You got to look up some stories about him. I loved Bob Sanders when growing up.
That's a good call. He was almost my honorable mention.
Yeah, Bob, man, he could play safety. He was one of the best safeties I watched. That guy, if he would have stayed a little healthier, and then Edgerrin James, those 2 guys for me.
Edge is the original Le'Veon Bell. I tell people he was the first guy to really run with that type of set up your blocks, and then that's when you're taking off. Yeah, I mean, Bell didn't invent that.
No, yeah. I'm surprised you didn't say Mike Vanderjagt. Not a big Mike Vanderjagt guy?
He has a little bit of an attitude,
Yeah, just a little bit. One of my favorite things when I think he said, what'd that idiot kicker say? Peyton Manning said that about Vanderjagt and those things. So I agree. Yeah, and he also, my Cowboys signed that idiot for one of the biggest kicker free agent contracts after he left, and then he got cut.
I remember that. Yeah.
So bad. I don't even want to talk about it. That hurts my feelings. Why did I even bring that up? All right, now, definitely, we went through this. We talked about the Colts stuff, but you got to follow this guy. He's drastically underfollowed. You got a Fantasy Dukes on Twitter. He's a great guy. He's a great analyst. He's a great graphics guy. He's just a great all-around just person. So if you have social media out there, if you listen on the podcast or YouTube, follow him on Twitter there. Why don't you tell us what you got coming next? I know that you said the draft stuff's coming on. I know that you're ready for the Undroppables and the YouTube channel that you guys are building there. What are you looking forward to?
I mean, look out for some people are going to be dropping logos. There's new podcasts coming all the time. Yeah. But as far as stuff that I'm involved with, definitely doing some commissioning. And then also just go to theundroppables.com, subscribe to the YouTube. New stuff every single day. Awesome stuff on there. So please subscribe.
And you should. And I appreciate you coming on. I really do. I think the Colts are set up now. I'm so interested to see how Wentz does. That's really – Wentz is the guy. So if they're going to be a Super Bowl contender, Wentz has got to step up, and he's got to be there. So I really do appreciate you coming on. For everybody that tuned in, Dave, we appreciate you. You're there the whole show. You're my guy. Everybody else, listen on the podcast. Remember to rate and subscribe, and on the YouTube channel. Be sure to like and hit that subscribe button. We've actually jumped up our subscribers by 100 the last month and a half. So appreciate you guys, everybody tuning in there. And you guys, if you're listening on the pod, stay safe and be healthy out there. So Dave, thanks for coming on. And Fantasy Dukes.
One love.
Did you get all that? If not, make sure you head over to Hammercast.com, subscribe, and join the Hammer Nation. Until next time, keep grinding.